Well, hello, boys and girls. I hope you're doing really, really well. I wonder, are you sitting there in your jammies lying around all day? Or are you all dressed up like me? Have you got something important to do? Well, whether you do or you don't, I hope you've got time to sit down, relax, and get comfy for me to tell you a story. And what a story I have for you today. For today's story is called The Nessie Hunt. Have you ever heard of Nessie? Oh, have you? Well, some of you have, some of you haven't, but let's find out what happens in the Nessie Hunt. So, in a small town in Scotland, far away, there lived 4 children, and their names were Jeannie, Jack, Morag, and Max. And do you know what these 4 children were? They called themselves professional monster hunters. In the summer at night, they loved to run into the woods and they would hunt for werewolves. There would be the snap of the twig, there would be the rustle of leaves, and they would shout, over here, I found one. Well, their mums and dads would call out, I'm sure you have, it's time for dinner. And off the 4 children would go back to their homes to have their dinner. And even in the winter, when the soft snow all fell and you heard the crunching of the snow, they would go and look for yetis. And they would shout, over here, I found one, look! And again, their mums and dads would look out and call, I'm sure you have, come on in, it's time for dinner. Let's get you warm. And so the children would come out of the cold, they would take their hats and gloves off, and they would sit down ready for dinner. Now, of all the monsters the children heard of, they really wanted to meet the Loch Ness monster. But Nessie lived in Loch Ness, and so they had to find a way of how to get there. And Morag, Max, Jeannie and Jack all had an idea of why don't we all go on holiday. We'll ask our mums and we'll ask our dads very, very nicely and let's see if we could go. So the 4 children did everything. They washed up the dishes, scrub. They put away all the plates and they swept up all the floors, brush. They even made their beds and tidied their bedrooms. I know, it's not unlike them to do such things. And when they'd done all these chores and more, they said, Mum, Dad, we've been so good. Can we go on holiday to Loch Ness? And the mums and dads had a think and they decided, well, since you've been so good, we'll go away this weekend all together. We'll get a caravan and all of us can stay in the same place where we can keep an eye on you. And the children shouted, hooray! And they were so excited. They could barely sleep. And when they were in the car, they were watching everything go by. They counted the trees. They watched the birds. They made funny shapes out of the clouds. They played all sorts of games until they were finally there at the caravan park. Oh, what a day it was. They had lots of yummy food. They had ice lollies to go with the warm sun. And when it was time, they decided, let's go see Loch Ness. But when they got there was lots of people around. Huffed the children. Nessie's never going to show himself here, not in front of all these people. What can we do? And that's when Jack had an idea. He decided, why don't we sneak away from all the people where Nessie might show himself? Morag agreed, that's a great idea. Max was a bit unsure. He was worried they might get into trouble. But what about our mums and dads? And Jean said, don't worry about that. They won't know. And so the 4 of them tiptoed away and crept along the side of the lock, away from everyone else. They crunched on some twigs, they stepped on some stones, they looked here, they looked there, they looked everywhere, but they couldn't see Nessie. This is boring, the children thought. We'll never find Nessie like this. And so, to ease their boredom, they decided to skip some stones. They picked them up and threw them across the lock. Skim, skim, skim went the stones, and plop down under the sea. Skip, skip, skip went the stones, and plop under the water. Skim, skim, skim went the stones, and ouch! Ouch! The sea, ocean, locks and rivers, none of them go ouch. And just before them, the water crashed up and they saw it. Nessie himself with his big long neck, big jagged teeth and very sad eyes and a small bump on his head. And he shouted at the children, "Why would you do that? Why would you hurt me? That was very mean. I was just going for my daily swim when all of a sudden this big rock hit me." The children all covered their mouths. They didn't realise that Nessie was such a nice monster. And they all said, "We're sorry, Nessie. We just wanted to find you. We didn't mean to hurt you." And Nessie said, "Well, maybe you can make it up to me." "Oh, how can we make it up to you?" cried the children. And Nessie said to them, "Well, in this lock, it's very big and it can get very lonely. There's too many people there, far too many people to play any games, but you seem just the right amount of people. I would like to play some games with you." And the children said, "Okay, what kind of games would you like to play?" And Nessie thought, "I don't know. I've never had people to play games with before. What games do you like to play?" And the children said, "Well, we like to hunt monsters." And Nessie said, "Oh, I don't think I've ever hunted a monster before. How do you do it?" And the children said, "Well, if you come with us into the woods, maybe we can try and find a werewolf." "Well, that sounds like fun," Nessie said. And so he crawled out of the water with a big splish, splash, splosh. And he and the children went hunting in the woods for some werewolves. And Nessie craned his big tall neck to look out over all the trees and said, "I don't see any werewolves here. I don't think there is any." And the children said, "Maybe you're right. Maybe there's some monsters under the lock. Can we swim with you?" And Nessie said, "Well, okay." And so the children took off their tops and bottoms and jumped into the water all together with Nessie. And they went for a swim. And they went glub, 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 all the way to the bottom. And they looked this way, they looked that way. But all they could see was all kinds of different fish. In fact, they couldn't find any monsters. And as they all came back out with a big breath, they said, "Well, Nessie, there doesn't seem to be any monsters here." And Nessie agreed and said, "Yes, I don't think I found any monsters either." And the children laughed. "Well, we found one." And Nessie said, "Oh, which monster did you find?" "We found you, Nessie, the big friendly Loch Ness monster." And they all jumped and gave him a hug. And Nessie said, "Oh, well, thank you very much." And just as they did that, the children heard some shouting. "Max! Morag! Jack! Jean!" "Oh, that's our parents," the children cried. And Nessie went, "Oh, I better go then. Go on, children, go to your parents, and I hope to see you soon." And so Nessie dove back under the water, away from everyone else. As the children shouted, "Over here! Over here!" And so, eventually the parents found them. And the parents asked, "Where were you? We're looking for you everywhere." And they said, "We were just playing with our friend." "Oh, who's your friend?" asked the parents. "It's our friend Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster." And the parents, just as ever, said, "I'm sure you were. Come on now, get yourself dried up. It's time for dinner." And so, boys and girls, that's the story of the Nessie hunt. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that if you ever go looking for monsters, you find one just as friendly and just as nice as Nessie. I'll see you all again. Bye-byes.